So, chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, as we have been discussing, talks of karma yoga, the path of action, how you have to understand how to act. All other creatures except a human being are given by nature their action. They don't have to choose. Choice is made. Only a human being can choose every second. You can choose to be or not to be, as Shakespeare says. You can even choose to be, to live, or to die. You can go to that extent. So you need to learn how to act, and that knowledge is what is given in the 3rd chapter, and specifically verses 25 through 35. The technique of right action. So obviously the next thing which Arjuna would ask is, what is preventing me from doing the right action? That's what he says in the 36th verse, which we did last time, right? By what impelled does man commit sin? Why am I agitated? Why do I regret? Even though I know what should be done, though against his wish, constrained as it were by force. So, what is that force within me which is forcing me to do what I don't want to do? So, this is a common theme in everybody's life. Even if you forget about knowing Vedanta, simple things we're not able to do, even though we understand we should do it. Like proper eating or exercising. You know you should do it, you can't do it. So he's asking, why is that? What is the force? And then in 37, Krishna says it is that desire, karma, and the modifications, which we discussed in detail last time, right? It's not just the desire. The desire goes through many modifications. All these are powerful emotions, one of which is mentioned, anger, fear, greed. All these are emotions born of the quality of rajas. Now, why he's mentioned rajas specifically is rajas refers to that flow of desire from you to the world. It is that ego and its egocentric desires. That is rajas. Those agitate the mind. And how do they agitate the mind? All devouring. Because no matter how much you feed the desire, Mahashano, it's insatiable. It can never be satisfied. So you are constantly agitated. Mahapapma, that's what he says. Sin refers to the quality of agitation. I told you, philosophically, Atman, the self, is absolute bliss. Anything opposed to the self is sorrow, agitation. So sin means sorrow. In fact, if you are in any kind of agitation, disturbance, stress, or you're sinning, it means there's something wrong with you. Very interesting. It's not don't do this action, don't do that action. That is for illiterate people. Philosophically, this is what it means. Know this to be your enemy here. So the only positive desire is the desire which takes you to the self. That is sattva. That is the sattvic desire. So people have misconstrued this to mean all desires are bad. No. Rajas he specifies. See, you must understand why he's saying. He's not saying all desire. Rajas. Rajas is that selfish craving. What can I get? That is the problem in this world with your mind. This is your enemy. So, all religions, without exception, personified desire as the impediment between the human and God. It's a personification of your own mind, nothing else. So, in the scriptures, you'll see so many Rakshasa, Asuras. In fact, they've classified the desires also. Rakshasa is the Rajas, Asura is the Tamas, the lower quality and the middle quality of desires. Then you'll find Shaitan in Islam, Satan in Christianity, Mara in Buddhism, everywhere. People can't understand philosophy, so you have to personify it in a form, just as even divinity is personified in these idols and stories and deities. People aren't able to relate to it as the all-pervading reality. It's everywhere. You can't understand that. Formless. You need a form. Similarly, the mind is formless. Desires. You can't understand that. So you need a form. Devil. That you'll understand. Know this to be your enemy here. And what have you done to this enemy all your life? You've petted it and pampered it, thinking it's your friend. It's like keeping a thief in your house and giving it food and nourishment. Every day it's stealing from you. What to do, my friend? No. It's exactly like that. Your own mind. It's become such a monster to a point where whatever you understand you should do in life, it will not let you do it. Pulls you down. It's your own creation. So why he's saying it's the enemy is because it disturbs you. It agitates you in sorrow all your life. Like we were discussing yesterday, right? That you're agitated because you don't have something, and whatever you get attached. And then there's fear of losing it. So these anxieties of attachment and desire, they grip you all their life. Any desire. So you need to understand this knowledge and entertain the right desire, the desire to evolve. And then the whole thing comes under control. Live a beautiful life in the world till you reach the self. Now, what else do you want? But at least you must understand this is the enemy, which we don't. How deep rooted it is. So that fight is all the time personified in all the stories, right? Mahabharata is what? The 5 brothers represent the higher aspirations. 100 Kauravas represent the lower, pulling you down. It's a constant struggle going on. Milton wrote Paradise Lost, right? It's nothing but the gods and the demons fighting. All the stories come down to that. Ravana in the Ramayana is the 10-headed monster, the 5 organs of perception, 5 organs of action, which kidnap the individual, Sita. So it's all symbolic. Until you use the same thoughts, which is the monkeys, cross the ocean of samsara and get to realization. So you have to harness the same desire but the positive to cross this ocean. It's all symbolic. Stories you remember. See, all of you remember the stories. Which one of you knows philosophy? So they have a purpose to keep that story going. So one day somebody questions it. What does it mean? Going on for thousands of years. So there is a purpose to the rituals, the stories, the deities. To keep it going in the masses. For those few who want to really inquire. What's the meaning behind all of it? So here you're learning the meaning. In 37 he says, this is your enemy. And he continues. how you need to deal with it now. First, understand its nature. Yes, Meenal, you had something?
Yes, I will wait because you just answered it in the last sentence.
Okay.
That tells how to deal with it. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
There is a question on the chat.
Mm.
How are vasanas different from gunas? Are gunas related to our mind?
How are vasanas different from gunas, and is gunas related to the mind? It's all the same thing. Gunas means the mental qualities, which means the quality of the desires. Desires is the mind. So it's all the same. Vasanas is desires. So your vasanas or desires are of three types. Satvik, the highest, Rajas, the middle, and Tamas, the lowest, which he talks about now in 38.
Gautamji, when we say that there is this constant fight, is it the fight between the mind and the intellect?
When you say there's a constant fight, yes, it's the fight between the mind and intellect. Correct. Because the intellect is the only thing which can fight the mind. How can the mind fight itself? Right? Mind will be just the thought force. Mind is just the thought. I want that. And then the modifications coming out of that. That is the mind. So the only thing which can control or direct the mind is the intellect. But the mind won't let it do it. Because the mind is strong and the intellect is weak. So the intellect has to keep on trying till it gets strong. Then the mind follows the intellect. That's a very high state. So don't worry. If you thought you were done with fighting, it's just started. You thought the house situation was bad. Wait till you start fighting your mind.
Gautamji, why did you say that this is all born of only Rajas? Why is it not Tamas?
Born of Rajas?
The desire is...
See, Rajas is that quality of desire per se. Tamas is when it acquires a negative. See, what you must understand is the extreme. What is extreme tamas? Deep sleep. Right? So there's no desire there. So how can you say tamasic desires? It's not, you can't. So tamas is the quality of sleep. And in sleep you're completely ignorant. So when those qualities of ignorance and sleep are in your desires, we say tamasic desires. But desire per se is rajas. Rajas is actually movement. Rajo means to move. And movement of thought. And when that same movement goes to the higher, we call it tamas. Sattva. That's all. But the quality of desire per se is rajas. That flow of thought from you to the world. Got it?
What does intellect personifies as? Like we talk about mind personified as a devil. What intellect?
Mind is personified as the devil.
Yeah.
Now why you want intellect also to be personified? You must first understand what you have to fight. That is the mind. I've never heard this kind of question. Why is intellect not personified? Self is personified as the deity, right? Mind is personified as the enemy. So intellect is personified as the various deities, like how Shiva, you say, is a Ganesha, right? You hear, then the reflection. It's a process of spiritual development, right? Which grows your intellect. The process is personified in the form of these stories. So, intellect now, it is personified. Saraswati is knowledge. It's not that it's not personified. Ganesha is wisdom. But it's a process. It's not, you have to gain it through a process. Mind is already there. So first understand what you have to fight. So the knowledge is personified. No question. Uma, the daughter of the Himalayas, Ganga, these are all personifications of knowledge. Saraswati, Ganesha. Ganesha symbolizes wisdom, right? So to answer your question directly, it's there. But we focus on the personification of the mind as the devil because that is what you have to fight. You don't even know that. Ajay.
Quick question. So when I read in the book, it says people act against their consciousness and suffer in this world. And you talked
Conscience,
about
not consciousness. They're two different things completely.
All right. So in this conscience, in this case, is referring to intellect?
Conscience in this case is referring to the direction set by your intellect. Yes. You believe what you ought to do and your mind doesn't let you do it. You go against that and that's why you regret. Regret comes from going against your conscience. Consciousness is different. Consciousness is the soul. That doesn't do or not do anything. That just makes you conscious. Roxanne?
Your intellect, instead of fighting your mind, lead your mind. Like a parent, like a wise parent telling it the right thing to do versus fighting it.
What's your question?
Well, you're talking about your intellect having to fight your mind all the time. And I'm just saying, can it lead it? Is there another way they can?
If it's strong enough, it can lead it. See, like a parent can lead a child if the parent is strong.
But that's what I was asking.
But another child can't lead the child, right? So the problem is the intellect has a direction. It understands. But it is too weak for the mind to follow the direction. If the intellect was able to lead your mind, where's the problem? You're there. You can direct your mind wherever you want. That is the state of wisdom. So that doesn't come immediately. You have to work hard, and the work part of it, which we'll talk about now, self-control, is the fight. The mind wants to go to one area. You have to control it and bring it back to where you want. So if you do it with the intellect, at least there's a chance you will not be frustrated. But if you do it without understanding, then you'll be frustrated. You get it? So that's what they're trying to say. The intellect should lead the mind. So you can't do it you can't just tell the mind what to do. It has to be done with knowledge, with understanding. But it is a fight. If there was no fight, then you're in sannyas. Where your mind is exactly where you want it to be. What we were talking about yesterday doesn't come that easy. You've got to fight for it. Kate?
Yes. Hi. How would you respond to someone who says to you, not everyone has an intellect?
How would you respond to someone saying not everyone has intellect? Do they imply you? When they're saying that and they're implying that they have an intellect, what is it's the true statement independently that all humans have an intellect, but hardly any human uses it. So it's not incorrect to say hardly anybody is using their intellect. But to say that any human doesn't have an intellect is untrue, because all humans have intellect. They may not use it. That's a different matter. And generally speaking, don't bother about responding to people, because most people don't want to hear your opinion. You only should talk or try and deal with people in terms of helping them if they want it. So if they have an opinion and they're strong about it, just agree with them. There's no point. I don't think you should be studying Vedanta. It's useless. Absolutely. That's all. And continue studying. What is the problem? Why fight and study, right? It's like that. So I don't think this knowledge has made an impact on you at all. Absolutely right. That's why I'm continuing. So just slide. If they want to hear, if they want to discuss, then give your opinion. Yeah, somebody had something?
Yeah. So all the personifications that we hear on in the stories is basically telling us all the tools we have to fight the mind, like the intellect or knowledge or self-discipline, control, like all, be it Ramayana or Mahabharata, what do Pandavas represent or what does the good represent? Is it just the tools that we have to fight the mind?
When you're talking about all these stories, what do they actually represent? See, all the stories, histories of gods, Puranas, rituals, festivals, all serve to educate you that the goal of life is to get to the self and how to get there and what are the impediments, how to overcome the impediments. You're right. So you got to fit it in. So that's why those of you who are interested, I've told you before, right? Get the book, the symbolism of Hindu gods and rituals is incredible. How every aspect, every festival, every ritual has the same meaning. So you are now directly getting it through the knowledge. So you don't have to go into all the stories. But if you come across, you will easily see the connection. Yeah.
A quick clarification to what Priya asked earlier. So the desire to laze around, which is a big impediment again to do what needs to be done. As per this verse, then is that also born out of the quality of rajas?
Desire to laze, I told you, desire means rajas.
Okay, that is also.
It has a tamasic. Everything is not black and white. So everything is hues, right? Even when you're growing spiritually, it's not that you're sattvic just because you've decided to grow spiritually. There's rajas, there's tamas. It will come. So it's like that. Pure tamas is sleep. Pure rajas is just desire. Pure sattva is desire without any selfishness. These are the three grades. Now you can fit it in. So when you start the spiritual path, you're rajasic, but there's a sattvic tinge to it. And when you grow spiritually, you're sattvic, but there's rajas, so it's rajasic sattva. Before it was sattvic rajas. You can say that. But now why get into it? It's all just playing with words. You must understand the concepts. So again, stories they'll say that. There was a man, he had 3 swans, one black, one red, one white. You understand? It's the soul covered by the 3. Black represents tamas, darkness. Red, rajas, desire, blood. The rajas is the red. Actually means red. When I say desire, blood is boiling. That is rajas. And white, the purity with no dirt, is sattva. So Upanishads also, they put it in this so many ways like that. There was a goat and there were 3 she goats, one black, one red, one white, and like that. So they explain the whole thing, so in the form of these stories. And you are that self, you're now covered with these 3, and how you have to remove these 3 to get back to yourself. That's the whole theme. So human is nothing but God consciousness covered by desires, and desires are red, white, black. That's the theme. So it's the white which takes you back. Hmm. 38. as fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror by dust, as an embryo is covered by the womb, so is this covered by it. So this refers to the self. I told you. Now how they put it across. This refers to your real self, I, what you are. And what is this I covered by? It, desires. See the very use of the word, you must see the poetry here. This means it's something right here with you. It means it's something far away, not you. Now you've reversed it. Now the desires have become you and the self has become it. You don't know what it is. So idam, this self is covered by these sattvic, rajasic, tamasic desires. A famous verse which tells you the quality of the desire and the depth of it and the effort needed. I'll explain, then you'll know. So sattvic desires cover the self as smoke covers the fire. Now, what the point of comparison is, if you light a fire in the night, there's smoke covering it, but you can clearly see the fire, even though the fire is completely covered by a layer of smoke. Similarly, even though the self is covered, even in a sattvic person, to reach enlightenment, you have to go past even sattva. But the sattvic nature, the divine nature is still clear. You can see it. They're objective, pure, dynamic, calm, clear in their thinking. All that you'll see clearly. If you have the eyes to see, that is. And a passing breeze will blow the smoke away. So, sattvic desires take very little effort to get to enlightenment because the major part of that effort has been already put in. So, for that person who's completely sattvic, the major impediment, the mind, is almost gone. So, what prevents them from getting to the self? Very little effort needed. Rajas covers the self as a mirror is covered by dust. Now, what are the points of comparison? Dust covers the mirror. You can't see the image. It's very blurry if a mirror is fully dusty, right? So, a Rajasic person, the divinity is totally obscured. You see all the Rajasic qualities, selfishness, greed, attachment. There's no divine quality in that person. And you need to put in effort to remove the dust from the mirror, right? You have to wipe it. The deeper the dust, the longer it has settled, the more effort it takes. But the good part of it is, the optimistic part of it is, that you can put in effort and remove the dust. So even though the divinity is obscured, don't worry. If you put in effort, it will reveal itself. Rajas. Now tamas is a champion quality. Now what to do? So tamas, what happens is, tamas covers the self as the womb covers the embryo. Now again, what are the points of comparison? At least in the mirror, there's some hazy outline you can see. The womb covers an embryo, you can't see it at all. It's completely blocked out. So the divinity in such a person is totally blocked out. They are very, very gross, extreme selfish, heedless, indifferent. And the beauty is, just as no amount of effort can make the embryo emerge from the womb. It takes its own time, right? How much ever nourishment you give the mother, that's what they go on saying. Go on drinking ghee, milk, this, that. They go on feeding as if it's going to, the womb is going to grow any more. It's going to take its time. No amount of effort. 9 months it takes in the case of a human, or whatever it takes in any being. Tamasic desires are like that. The person is so covered by grossness and selfishness that no amount of education and effort will help. They need their time to come out of it. So they will go through the knocks and shocks of life, and when they become unbearable, then one day they'll wake up. What am I doing? They need that. That's what I was telling somebody, in your own way. If a person is completely fixated, gross, leave them alone. You can't force it, especially this knowledge. In fact, you can't force anything. So, these are the 3 levels of desires. So now the good news is I don't see anybody that tamasic. The fact that you want to learn the knowledge and you're making an effort to gain it itself shows you're definitely in the rajasic state, that you're putting in effort. So it's just a question of time and effort. And certain tamasic qualities you have, you can deal with, as long as you're not predominantly tamasic. So tamas is deadly. So wherever you find yourself not putting in effort, procrastinating, being lazy, indifferent, you've got to really kick yourself. I'm not joking. Because this tamas is so deadly. It's inertia, you know. How in physics, you know, right? An object will not move unless another object with a greater force makes it move. This is the law of physics, inertia. So tamas is inertia. You will remain in that same frequency unless you do something about it. So you've got to be ruthless with your tamas. Rajas, I'll still say you can give it little more freedom. I like to watch a movie. Okay, go watch. It's harmless. You understand? I mean, these rajasic things are okay under supervision. Tamas, when that laziness, procrastination is coming, that's when you got to be firm. No compromise. Otherwise, you'll never improve. So, getting up in the morning, most people have trouble because of tamas. Exercising. See, these are the 2 pillars of Vedanta. Trust me. Is your exercise, physical exercise and discipline to keep yourself active. And of course, most importantly is your early morning getting up to grow your intellect. And I've heard people say, everything I can do except these 2 things, don't tell me. Right? Now, what else you want to do? Exercise, wo chodo. And getting up morning, that's not going to happen. Anything else you tell me, I'll do. I said, there's nothing else for me to say to you. There's nothing else you can do. So one person, like, he's been learning Vedanta all his life and all. So very dedicated to this thing. But I saw not one thing he puts in practice. So I asked him one day, I said, whole life you've been learning. And I have not seen you applying one thing. He's saying, beta, wahi to maar kha gaye. That was the only problem. That is the only. What else is there? Only in applying I got left behind. No, what else is there to do? Everything else I did, I just didn't apply anything. What can you talk to a person with? So, this is tamas. It will not move. So these are the 2 things. I'm telling you how to tackle the tamas. Rajas you tackle by whatever you're doing, make it less selfish. That's how you tackle Rajas. That's easier to do. I mean, nobody's doing it, but still, if you put your mind to it, it's easy. But tamas is defined by waking up early. I told you, we wake up at 4. You don't have to do that, but at least 5, 5:15. So the most tamasic of you, I'll say 5:30. Now that also you can't do. At least start with 5:30 and work your way up to 5. That minimum has to be done. 1 hour morning study and physical exercise, movement. Got to move.
Gautamji, in that example you just gave, the guy not applying, if he's tamasic, he would not even approach to learn.
If he's not applied, if he was tamasic, he wouldn't have approached to learn Vedanta. No, that much Rajas he had to learn. But when it came to applying, he was full tamas. So now why are you again complicating it? Everything I simplify, you people have a knack of again complicating it, He gives me knots. I had to open the whole knot. Can I put it back again? Yes, okay, please. What to do? Yes, Shreyas.
Hari Om, Gautamji. I actually have 2 questions, and I think you answered the first one.
Then why are you asking it? Move to the second one. I have to give prefix for everything. I have 2 questions. You answered one. Just say then I have 1 question.
Alright, let me just go to the 1 question then.
Yeah,
but I'm not completely, I don't have full clarification on the first question.
You think about it. Now let's do the second one now.
Second one. You mentioned this before. As a parent or as a friend or as a colleague, you work with people. You have responsibilities. And you said the best way you can sometimes interact with that family is just with your own families, be quiet. Let them come to you. You don't go to them. Right? Is there a point where you have a completely stay away from it? Is there a point where you start engaging? How does one strike that balance? You see a person, within quotes, you're very attached to, is engaged in the gross. You can't go preaching to them because you're going to lose them. You're going to lose their interest.
Yeah.
Even you're going to lose that relationship probably even more.
Correct.
Because we're still a child. We're not a parent in that sense. We're still learning in our own respect. At the same time, you feel that what you're learning is helping you. How do you strike that balance of?
See, there's no balance because you're already unbalanced. You're constantly been sitting on their head. You're talking about your children, which is obvious because that's the attachment, overbearing attachment everybody has. It's not you, everybody. And you've lost them already. It's not that maybe I'll lose them. The minute you open your mouth, they're switched off. Trust me. You understand? I can see it written all over your face and everybody. Now, I'm not singling you out. I've seen children, as soon as a parent opens their mouth, God. Inside they just don't say anything because they need you for their room and board. For what? Where is that for? He says to my children, I am only Airbnb, ATM and Uber. That's all I am to my child. Provide room and board, take them from here to there, and of course ATM. Whenever they need money, they call. That's all, because they need those 3 things. You think if they didn't need it, they'll hang around you? No. The reason you must understand, I'm not criticizing, you must all understand, is because you, of your goodness, you want to help them, but you don't know how to do it. Just as you go back to when you were a child, your father was sitting on your head, or mother, morning, noon and night, said, study, do this, do that. And you couldn't wait to get out of the house. Same thing you're doing. They were attached, you're attached. So all I'm saying is, The way to educate somebody is not to lecture to them, but to make sure that they want to learn from you. The way to do that is to stop lecturing and start leading an ideal life yourself. When they see you as a person worth following, they will come and ask you. Now you've already created such a negative thing with them. That's the problem. All of you have. At the minute now there's a revulsion. So it's going to take some time. But even keeping quiet will make a huge impact. Because one day they'll come around and say, you didn't say anything. That's when you can say. So you tried the other way and it has not worked, like it has not worked for countless others before you. So try this. Yes.
We talked about making an effort to uncover your thing, to get clarity. Does it also say that the only way to do it is with a spiritual master? It's very hard to do it by yourself.
To gain spiritual clarity.
Yeah,
to learn anything, it's like saying it's very hard to become a doctor by yourself. You can become a surgeon, but it's almost impossible, right? You need, can I become a surgeon by myself? You can. Theoretical answer is you can. So similarly, you are asking, can I gain clarity by myself? You can. But how are you going to do it? So there is a prescribed method for given with the textbooks to learn. Now, which textbooks first of all? Do you know how many textbooks there are? There are 286 Upanishads. You have not even come to the Gita yet. You try and study one on your own. You won't know what they say. Impossible. So which ones to study? And then what else do you need? And then who to learn from? You go to YouTube, there will be a million gurus. Now who are you going to follow? Who's going to teach you the verses, the knowledge? So you have to follow a prescribed course and look for somebody who can guide you. That's it. So he says that. See again, stories we were talking about, right? So in the Dhyana shlokas, he says, the Upanishads are the cows. Krishna is the cowherd. So milk is the nectar, is the knowledge. They're just equating it. Now, who can convert grass to milk? Can you convert grass to milk? You say, it's like asking, can I convert grass into milk? No, you can't. So, thousands of years ago, in an incredible period of human intellectual development, there were a galaxy, not 1 or 2 or 10 or 20, galaxy of tremendously powerful thinkers who composed the Upanishads, which is Vedanta. They are the cows. Like just as a cow can convert grass to milk, they were able to analyze the experiences of life and convert that into enlightenment, into Vedanta. But even the cows you can't directly approach. That's what he's trying to say there in the Dhyana shlokas, which is written thousands of years after Upanishad. So you need somebody to milk the cow, and that is Krishna, and that milk is the Gita. So the Gita is nothing but the explanation of the Upanishads, because they're very difficult for you to address directly. Even the Gita you can't learn directly. You need somebody to teach it to you. So that's all it is. That is also the significance of what? Where else is this concept given out? Anybody tell me? This is a difficult one.
Saraswati Swan.
Saraswati. No, that is that is the power of the intellect. Gangadhara. What is another name for Shiva? Gangadhara means the one who holds the Ganga. So what is the story? Do you know? that you should. That is the Puranas, right? You're talking stories. So what is it? What are you asking? Wisdom. This is how the wisdom is personified, right? So Ganga flowed in the heavens. It was called Akasha Ganga, and no access to human beings. Humans had no access. It's all symbolic, I'll tell you. So a king performed a prayer, Bhagiratha. In fact, that's why the Ganga is called Bhagirathi, to get the Ganges onto the earth, to purify his ancestors, whatever the story is. That's not important. And they said only Shiva can do that. So he prayed to Shiva. This is the Shiva Purana. I'm giving you the story. And the Ganga said, okay, I agree. No, he prayed to Ganga first, who said, I agree, but when I come down, you won't be able to handle my force. Only Shiva can handle my force. So pray to him. So these stories are all this one. You pray to, you go there, then you have to do this. And people do it literally now without understanding what it means. You see the absurdity. So he prayed and Shiva agreed. And then the Ganges came and got lost in Shiva's head. No jokes, this is the story. In his hair. Then the poor fellow had to pray again for him to come to release it. Now that is also has a significance. And when it was released, it is released in a trickle, which you see in the picture. You'll see a picture of the Ganges flowing like that in a trickle. Now, if you look at this whole thing, you'll say, how absurd. What kind of a story is this? If a person who doesn't know anything hears this, what will they say? You tell you're talking about children, no, tell them, I'll tell you a story about Lord Shiva. They look at you, what is he talking? And they'll just gulp it down again, ATM. Tomorrow they have to ask you for money, So they'll listen to the story for that reason. So, and that is the Ganga flowing today. That is the story. Now, Akasha Ganga means what? The knowledge of the self is heavens, means it's transcendental. The Atman is beyond the world. It's not in the world. It is beyond all this. So, for that knowledge of the self to come to the human being, you need a person who done tapas. That is Shiva, who symbolizes asceticism, effort to learn this knowledge. It requires a tremendous amount of effort, withdrawal. Like a scientist has to go deep into his lab for years and years to find out something. Only a person like that can understand the full import. And then what's the next one? Next symbolism is what?
Knowledge has to be mastery.
They will not give it to you. He kept it to himself. It seems selfish, it's not, because there's no point. Every Upanishad says, do not give this knowledge unless they are adhikari. They have the right to receive it. Unlike the so-called gurus and yearning for following. Come listen to me. I've written a book by it. These are the spiritual. No spiritual master will ever do that. Because they have it. You have to come. The people who deserve it. So, to the deserving person, he gave it. But he didn't unload everything. Because nobody can understand. It has to be given in regulated doses carefully. That's the trickle. So what is the source of the knowledge? Who understands it? How it has to be given? When it has to be given? All that is symbolized by the story. So the Ganges symbolizes the flow of knowledge from the Himalayas, where this knowledge was first composed, to the plains where it flows. The whole ancient culture was along the Ganges plains, right? Kuru, Panchala, Kosala, Videha, Bihar, it ended. That was the whole Ganges plain where the culture was first based. The four kingdoms, the main ones. So this is all symbolic. Now, where do that and where do people believe now? Now, what can you say? So, going the pilgrimage which they do, going to the Ganges to dip means a reminder that you have to go and gain the knowledge. Immerse yourself in Vedanta, in the knowledge to gain liberation. So, it's a ritual. It has a meaning. No, nobody understands the meaning. So we went quite a bit off today. Off in the sense to explain. So all these things you must understand, right? Now you want to learn it on your own. Einstein or what? Even Einstein had a guru, right? He learned it from somewhere. You got to be extremely. You have to be. You can't. You just can't. Because even if you go to the Upanishads and you ask them where you learned it, they say we learned it from our teachers. Iteshu shruma purvesha yenastad vyacha shakshire. Thus have we heard from the ancients who spoke it to us. Krishna in the Gita, you'll see, I'll point it out. Uchyate. Thus it has been said. So many verses from the Upanishads are put in the Gita for that reason. To make sure you all understand it's not anything original. It's from the Vedas. So it's impossible. In fact, you need tremendous original thinking just to understand this. But to generate it, you have to be I don't know what you Yajnavalkya. Impossible. So, first step is humility. Understand you don't know. Number one. Problem is you think you know everything. And God help you if you've been successful in life. Ego has gone through the roof. Think you know everything. You know nothing. So, first step, humility. Then you have to look for somebody who knows what they're talking. That itself is a big achievement in this world. To find somebody who knows what they're talking, one coherent sentence from the other, who gives you a chance to ask. That itself is another. Nobody will give you a chance to ask. You just listen. That's it. So, over a period of time, when you are confident that a person can answer your questions to your satisfaction, that becomes your teacher, your guru. Finished. After that, you better follow what they tell you. See, it's like you have the liberty of choosing your surgeon. You can interview 5-10 surgeons. You have to have a major surgery. Oh, you do all the homework, you talk to them, you get the references, you are satisfied with your own experience. After that, you must know what they say. No, but that fellow said to do this. Then why are you going to him? Right? Then he's about to cut you open. I think that fellow would have been better. Right? So in these cases, just put the anesthesia on them and knock them out. Mad fellows. So once you're comfortable over a period of time, now what's your problem? You understand? So let's read 39.
Avritam jnanametena jnanino nitya vairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha.
O Kaunteya, wisdom is covered. Jnanam etena avritam. Avritam is wisdom is covered by this constant enemy of the wise in the form of desire as insatiable fire. One of the famous verses, like I just mentioned, where he talks about two essential things which you must understand about your mind. One is insatiable, like fire. I'll elaborate next time, but you must get this clear. How much ever fuel you put into fire, no sample of fire in the world will say enough. It is ready to burn more. This is the mind. It's impossible. And the second problem is whatever wisdom you have gained. He says here, even the wise, if that desire overpowers it, you're gone. That wisdom is covered. Jnanasya aparipurnatvat shaknosi manobhramam. He says, due to the lack of that completeness of wisdom, you cannot withstand manobhramam, the delusion of your mind. Vinivarayatum tena vakramyate shanat. In a second, you're overcome by that desire. How much ever wisdom you have. So many heads have rolled by. Whether it's wealth or woman or wine or whatever. Wherever that disease is there, it overpowers you completely. However wise you may be. So, you've got to be on your toes. That's what he's saying. So I'll explain this in detail when we meet next week. If you have any questions, you can send them for Wednesday. We'll take them up in the class. Hari Om.